Hi, everybody. It's Glenn Ackerman with our Sunday broadcast taking place here on Easter Sunday. I want to say hi and shout out to the world. Love, blessings to all. We have a great class planned for you today. And the subject is the energetic secrets in the Easter story. Now, whether you're religious or not religious, whether you believe or you don't believe, doesn't matter. Everybody's welcome here because what we're going to be talking about is energetic secrets, energetic structure. And you don't have to believe in energy because energy is a scientific fact. So how can we learn the concepts of energy that I've been teaching in a religious story? Well, we're going to be talking about that today, very importantly. So hang on. And again, I'll probably make this disclaimer throughout the whole broadcast, but we don't take a religious stand here. Not religion. We're talking from the essence of energy, backed by science and backed by my discoveries and the discoveries of my work. So I just want to make that clear. So when people say, "Oh, Easter, is he celebrating Easter?" You know, does that mean you're a Christian, non-Christian? All of that is beside the point here. What our purpose here is to take something that millions and hundreds, billions of people are celebrating today, and seeing if there's a message that we can decode from the story, and something that we can learn to benefit our lives energetically. So that's what we're doing here. As I reach for my prompts, that's what we're going to be doing here this morning. So welcome everybody as everybody comes on. Just want to give a couple of notes to you all. We are continuing to fight the corona COVID-19 situation. And again, I just mentioned a couple of tips that you may or may not be aware of that I've broadcasted in earlier segments. But two things. I use lemon. They're very powerful against fighting virus. I use lemon I cut a slice of it off and either room temperature or warm water and gargle and swallow it twice a day, in the morning and the evening. But what I also do is, and again, I don't take the whole lemon. I just take a nice chunk of it. You can get about 3 or 4 servings out of each lemon, and they're so inexpensive. Trader Joe's are like $1.50 for bag full of lemons, but they're very powerful in strengthening your immune system and fighting viruses. So what I do, in addition to drinking it, is I take a couple of drops and I'll put them in a like a little cup like this, and just kind of pour it in and take a little snort, take a little sniff of that, just to get a drop, not a lot, just a little bit, to get into the sinuses, because lemon is a solvent and it cleans and is very good for fighting colds and flu. I've been using it for years successfully. So that's just a tip for you to use and to be aware of in this battle. Also, one other thing I'm going to mention to you is copper. Copper has been known to dissolve viruses. That's a fact if you look it up. Now, how long it takes is subject to opinion. Some say it can do it instantly. Some say it may take 4 or 5 hours, but it does work. It does dissolve viruses. And this is why many cities have copper in their bus stations, in their train stations. Kind of keeps they did that purposely because they know that people touching the handrails keeps the virus down, keeps the virus, the colds, the flus, etc. So I went to the hardware store and I said, "Hey, I need some copper." And they said, "Well, there's the copper aisle. Have at it." So I looked around and I go, I wanted a piece of copper that I could put in my pocket and hold all the time, because it's the holding, the metal itself gives off ions that dissolve the virus. So I saw these little pipes, kind of the shape of cigars, and so I bought about 10 of them, gave most of them away to friends and clients and students. I think I got a couple left, but I love them, and I keep them around. I even sniff a couple of them, keep them around, keep the ions going into the nose and holding on to that. So get a chance to go to your hardware store, get a nice piece of copper, put it in your pocket and hold it. Good for you. Okay. So there's Glenn's fun facts, tips for you to enhance your COVID resistance experience. All right. Now let's go into today's subject, which is the Easter story. And the Easter story of what we've heard and what people are celebrating today. And let's go into that narrative, because there's a lot of energetic treasure in there. And I say one more time, because this is a well-known story that billions of people know. Again, I'm not coming at it from a religious point of view. You know, whether you believe it or not, or it's up to you. For some people, it's the tenet of their faith. So it means the world to them, and of course they believe it. For other people, they don't believe it at all, and a lot of people aren't sure, and a lot of people are different faiths. And so what we're doing here today is we're looking for the structure, the energetic structure of the story, because everybody knows it, and to see how it works with the energetic principles that I've been teaching. So let me start off by saying that I teach energetic awareness class called Energetic Awareness, a method, a formula, a training. And that training is all about how to recognize the energetic aspects of life from an energetic point of view. And why this is so important is that in my work, I recognize, as have many of the great scientists before me, that there's another level of reality that affects what we see in the physical world. There's a deeper level of operation that we were never taught about, that has so much to do with how we navigate this world. And that could help us navigate this world if we knew what it was. So in my studies, and I kind of fell into this a little haphazardly because I wanted to change my life, as many of you want to do. And I wasn't satisfied with the quality of it. I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing. I wasn't satisfied with my relationships or where I was in life. And I wanted to change that. And so I went and looked at a lot of different things, as I'm sure you have, to try to change that. You know, personal development, psychology, mysticism, philosophies, Oriental medicine, just kind of stuff like that. And while all those things helped me, they didn't cure me, so to speak. It didn't fundamentally change what I was experiencing. And it wasn't until I discovered the world of energy medicine, energy psychology, and put together all the different places and all the different subjects that I had studied, which on their own I had learned a lot from, but didn't get me to where I needed to be. When all those coalesced, plus a little enlightenment from above, that's when the light went on, literally and figuratively, and I was able to make the changes that I wanted to make permanently. Not just a bandage, or not just another way of thinking or another way of looking at it, or some new discipline to follow that wound me up in the same place. I followed maybe about 30, maybe 40 different disciplines and ways of looking at things and stuff. And again, they're all good. It just didn't take me where I wanted, which was change, which was fundamental change. And I was able to make that change using the realities and the methods and the techniques and the trainings that I'm sharing with you now. So I've been teaching for a number of years here, and I teach a method of having you how to discover, to be aware of the world that you are living in that no one ever taught you about. And this is kind of fascinating that we're living in a world, and all of us have been here for a number of years, and we got a basic training about how things work, and yet there's so much that we don't understand, and there's so many things that happen to us that are the opposite of what we want to have happen to us, and it just seems that so much of it doesn't make sense. And that's where I was, and I said, well, there's got to be some kind of higher dimensional thinking. Excuse me, man, I got this frog in my throat. And it's funny, it didn't start until I started the broadcast, right? All morning I'm just fine and get a little tickle in my throat. Pardon me. So all these things that we weren't taught, we have to deal with them all the time. So a lot of us just figure, well, I guess it's a mystery. Well, I can't figure it out, or why did this happen? And yet we get banged up in life, and it's never been as clear as it has been with the coronavirus, that life attacks us, that we get banged up, that we have to protect ourselves. When it was in the old days, when we were, during the Stone Age, when you had to worry about dinosaurs and brontosaurus and saber-toothed tigers that we had to protect ourselves from. Now we have a civilization where we don't have to deal with any of that stuff. We don't have to deal with, with the threats, the threats of nature, or the animals, or marauders, or foreign kingdoms that are trying to, conquer our lands and steal our gold, kill the men, and take the women. Those are pretty much historic times that happened centuries ago. And yet it still happens around the world. But what we do have to protect ourselves from are the threats that are happening both externally in different forms and internally. And so that's why the process of living is very challenging. I did a whole video on why does life attack us? And I never thought of that before, not until recently going through the COVID-19 thing. And it dawned on me, yeah, life attacks us. I mean, we come into this world, and it starts, first of all, even just making it into the world, right? Getting out of the womb, and then trying to survive as a baby, trying to survive crib death. It happens to so many people. And then growing up as a child, and all the things you have to deal with as a child, sickness and ill health, and then growing up in a family dynamic, with parents who are a lot of times good, a lot of times dysfunctional, families, a lot of times good, a lot of times very dysfunctional, and it just keeps going on and on. I did a whole video on that I would recommend that you check out. And so the point is that here we are, and with all the education that we get, there's so many unanswered questions, and there's so much going. I want to be here, and I'm over here. Why is that? That's the big mystery, right? And that's what happened to me. I wanted to change my life. I was here, and I wanted to be over here, and I would try everything that I could to be able to get over there. And I would, take 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And I'm going, wow, there's some other process taking place here that's going on that I'm not aware of, because I'm trying to get over there, but it's like there's some kind of process that or energy or mystery or force that's pulling me back. So in my investigations and in my study and in my quest for the answers to this, I discovered energetic freedom and energetic awareness. Now, let me say that again. I discovered energy awareness to be able to get on the path of energetic freedom. And that is being able to overcome and deal with the challenges in this physical dimension that we're all living in. So, in each class that I give, I teach different aspects of this. And I have a YouTube channel with over 100 videos of my teachings on there. So kind of anything that I say, if you go, oh, that's interesting, I wish you talked about it more, I probably am talking about it a little bit more on another video. But I just want to get everybody up to speed on why it's so important that we become energetically aware. It's the most important thing you can learn, because you're dealing with energy in everything that you do. There's nothing that you're doing that doesn't have an energetic perspective to it. Relationships, health, money, success, and the irony of it is that we're fighting battles every day, and it just, we don't even think about it because it just seems, well, that's life, right? It's life. You got to guard your health against the health coming after you. You got to guard yourself against your creditors coming after you for money, and you got to guard yourself against, got to lock your car so people don't steal it, and you got to obey the law so the government doesn't come in after you, and it's like one thing after the other. So the clearest example of this is the virus, the COVID virus. Here we are. We're having it's the new year. It's New Year's, a couple months ago, everybody's Happy New Year. Hey, we're going into a new decade, the Roaring 20s. Everybody's excited about it. A new decade, and a new chance to change your life, to prosper, to succeed, to move your life forward, right? And everybody's so happy and positive. And then what happens? Bam! Out of nowhere, this thing comes and knocks us all in our butt and attacks us physically, attacks us emotionally, attacks us financially. And here we are trying to protect ourselves. And why that's so important a perspective is that we do that. We have to protect ourselves every day in the process of life, both externally and when I teach internally. We have to protect ourselves from the attacks of negative thoughts, of negative energies trying to influence our emotions, trying to influence our behaviors, trying to create a perspective that wants to lull us into a dark place. And really simply, one of my teachings is simply, we live in a binary world. In this dimension we live in, which is the third or fourth dimension, depending upon your opinion, in this physical world that you and I are a part of, we have to deal with two energies. Just like we have to deal with light, dark, good, bad, up, down, right, wrong, male, female. We have to deal with these polar energies. We have to deal with energies that are healthy and happy and want to move us into a powerful, creative, abundant place. And we have to deal with energies that want to keep that away, want to pull us into a dark place, want to pull us into an unhappy place, a place of anxiety, stress, and worry. And these two forces are constantly having a tug of war inside of us. Some people call it your good angels versus your bad angels. People can call it positivity versus negativity. People can call it, the light against the darkness. Whatever you want to call it, we have to be aware that these two energies are constantly influencing us, and that there's a battle taking place. Now, the irony is, or the paradox is that if you look around where you're at, if there's no battle going on that you can see, right? At your house, pretty quiet, isn't it? You look out the window, at the neighborhood you're living in, pretty quiet. Maybe somebody walking around, but pretty quiet. You look at the main drag or the boulevard you live near, pretty quiet. So you don't see that. And yet, so your five senses say, doesn't look like a battle, doesn't look like I'm being threatened, doesn't look like there's a global pandemic. No, doesn't look that way, but yet there's a part of you that knows there is. right? But it's not from what your senses teach you. It's the information that you get. It's kind of like, it's not what you see. It's not what your logic it tells you. It's what you hear from other sources, from other information, right? You didn't come up, you didn't wake up one day and said, I think there's going to be a virus hitting the world, and I think I better start wearing a mask everywhere I go and gloves. Did you? No, you didn't. I didn't. What happened? Somebody told all over the media, hey, virus coming up. Hey, blah, 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 you got to watch out. You got this, you got that. And, some people think it's right on. Other people think there's conspiracies, all kinds of viewpoints. But the point I'm telling you is that there's another reality other than our five senses. And we use our five senses and we use our logic to be able to navigate life. And that's a good thing. And that's important. And that's so much of what life is about. But there are other things that your five senses can't warn you about. Love, for example. Love and the things that we can't see. Love, trust, relationships. So many of the things that we try to figure out go the other way. So energy awareness training is all about being able to identify how these things work. And today's class, as I veer into that, and by the way, I want to say hi to some of the people who joined me on the class here. To Alex, all right, Barbara's here, great. Vadim, great. Leonora, glad you guys are here. Happy Easter to all of you and to all the ones that I can't see. So let's go into this, because this is going to be very interesting. So the question for all of you is what does Nelson Mandela, Tiger Woods, Tina Turner, Robert Downey Jr., and Lincoln have to do with the Easter story? Stay tuned and you'll find out. So let's look at the structure of the Easter story. And again, with all respect to anybody and everyone who this is their faith. But if you look at the structure, so you have Jesus, making his teachings and blessing people and healing people and teaching people that, empowering people and saying, hey, there's more to you than just your physical body. Hey, that there's a higher consciousness. There's a higher dimension. He calls it the kingdom of God. Okay. So he's telling everybody, you don't have to be miserable. You don't have to go around thinking that this life is just one big drag, and you can rise above that. Now, all the people at the time, they're worried about making a living. They're worried about survival. They're worried about, whatever their trade is, whether they're fishermen or whether they're carpenters or tax collectors, whatever. They also have to dealing with an occupied force. In Judea and Israel at that time, you had the Romans in there, and the Romans were taxing these people a lot of money and throwing their weight around. So it was a very tense time. And then you had people who wanted to overthrow the Romans and kick them out and start wars. And you had the zealots. So you had a lot of turmoil going on in the world. And here, is Jesus saying, hey, there's more going on than you see. There's another realm of consciousness. I use the word consciousness, but he says, hey, there's another kingdom. Whatever he wants to say, he's saying that there's another level of reality that you're not seeing, that I want to bring you good news. That's what they call the gospel, good news, that God loves you and that you can be happy even though, whatever you're doing, you can rise up. So, people love that message. And they loved that the messenger was so filled with love and kindness to people and just the energy that he gave off was people like being around it. So this goes on for about 3 years, right? And the people who could attuned to that energy. I'm going to call it my tuned to that message, or to be attuned to that energy, were multitudes. I mean, in terms of what I teach, that's high vibration energy. And high vibration energy attracts more high vibration energy, right? So when you're a high vibration energy behavior or thoughts or thinking or putting that out in the world, you're going to attract more people who vibrate or at least want to vibrate in that situation. Now, you had the Romans who were low vibration energy. They were there to dominate, to conquer, to tax, the people against their will. And, they try to make the best of it, but hey, they're there to, to conquer. And that was low vibration energy. You didn't do what they say, they're going to torture you, or they're going to hurt you. So the energies that I'm talking about were even in play, 2,000 years ago, and in the time of Jesus. So here he is, and he's doing his thing, and he's healing the people, and he's telling people, about their souls, and about that you're not just a physical, nobody who's just here. You're made in the image and the likeness of the Creator. You are the same essence of the Creator. You have to be, because that's who created you. When you're in that family lineage. So rise up. In one of the Gospels, it's Jesus says, "Don't you know that you are God's too?" Not saying equal to the Father, but at least he says you're God's. In other words, you have divinity in you. You're not just a little human worm walking around. There's something special and unique and blessed about you. So what he was doing was he was lifting the people up. He was energizing them. He was revealing another level of reality, another level of understanding. And that's kind of like what I mentioned in my preface about energy awareness training. Is what we're doing. There's similarities to the structure. Remember, I'm talking about structure now. I'm not talking about religion. Again, I want to mention that I'm just talking about the energetic structures, the similarities there. So this goes on for a while, and like all energies, the high vibration energies will attract more high vibration energies, and the people who are in low vibration will attract more low vibration energies. So there were people there who were jealous of him, or there were people there who thought he was getting in the way. There were people who thought he was a political threat. Whatever it was, there was a whole organization that was bent on taking him out. Now, these forces, when I teach high vibration energy, I see their characteristics of high vibration and their characteristics of low vibration energy. So the characteristics of wanting to dominate people, wanting to hurt people, wanting to oppress people, violence and suppression. What kind of energy is that? I can hear you. It's low vibration energy. So what energy is that going to attract? More low vibration energy. So just as Jesus attracted the crowds of high vibration energy of people who wanted to be around him, around that energy, that feeling, that frequency of all that he was. There's the other side that had to deal with the people who were dark, who wanted to hurt him, who wanted to attack him, who wanted to take him out. You see how even then you're dealing with two energies, and we all are. Every single one of us are dealing with these two energies. So to continue the story on, so you had a good 3-year run. A good 3-year run, and the people were being transformed, and life was good, and it was all good. And then it shifted into the next phase. Now, if you've heard my teaching on energy cycles, this might sound familiar to you. And the teaching on energy cycles, I did a whole class on them, but the headlines are simply is that energy never stays in the same place. It's always moving. It's always cyclical. So we know that energy is constantly expanding and moving. So we know, just like the day never stays the same. It's not morning for a month, right? It's only morning for a few hours, then it's afternoon for a few hours, and it's evening for a few hours, and then it turns around again. Why that's important is it's the same way with phases in our life. We're not babies forever. We're not adolescents forever. We're not teenagers, even though some people wish we were teenagers or, college students, at least at that age. But everything is always in motion. There's always a phase that's starting, beginning, and ending, and starting the next phase. Now, that sounds like such common sense, but when you're trying to navigate the world, we don't think that way. We think that things should always be good. We think that things should always be positive. We think that things should always be going our way. And when they're not, we're surprised. We're shocked. We're unprepared. Hey, what's going on here? And usually what happens is that destabilizes somebody's life. So when everything is going great, everybody knows how to operate. The minute you get into some adversity, whether it's health or divorce or reversal of fortune, God forbid, on all those things, that's when your life goes upside down and you don't know how to deal with it. And then that's where the suffering occurs. So this is what we identify in energy awareness training, so you can be prepared for how life works. Because if you're not prepared, for what life throws at you, and you're unprepared, excuse me, you're unprepared about it, you're going to suffer, God forbid. If you don't protect yourself against the virus, you're going to suffer. Nobody wants to suffer. That's why we're all protecting ourselves. Okay, but what I'm doing now is I'm laying out the structure, of the Easter story as it pertains to our lives. So let's continue, shall we? Is this making sense, by the way? If you guys are with me, give me a shout out on the chat if you would. Just say, hey, tell me where you're from, and if you're with me so far in the correlations I'm making between, the energy foundation I laid out in the first part of the class and the structure of the Easter story. Appreciate hearing from you, each and every one of you on the chat. Okay? Great. Let's continue on. So everything goes great, and then there's a shift that's taking place. There's a shift that takes place in which all of a sudden there's a wave of low vibration arising. There's a wave of low vibration energy arising where Jesus knows, you know what? The energy is going to change here, and some bad things are going to happen. To what degree? I can't say, but he knew something was going to happen. And as the energies changed, the disciples were like, no, we're not going to let anything happen to you. No, everything's going to be great. Like that. And he said to them, guys, things are going to change here, and you have to be prepared for it. And you have to let what's going to happen, because you can't stop it. And that's the metaphor, or the reality actually, for a lot of us. When we go through adversity, we want to stop it, right? Don't we? No, I don't want this pain. I don't want this suffering. No, but there's certain suffering that you can't stop, and there's certain suffering that you can't stop. There's suffering that you can't stop because it's there as part of your program, as part of your destiny, shall I say, as part of your operating system for what you came to deal with. So it's so interesting, when we're born and we come into this world and we're learning about it, they don't teach us, hey, you're here to learn. You're here to experience. And it's not all going to be good. At least I was never told that. So when I saw these images, growing up, and I would hear this, hear these stories, they all sound like, great. I can't relate to it. Can I relate to rising from the dead? Can any kid relate to rising from the dead? No, because he doesn't know what death is, right? Can you relate to, getting hanging on a cross? Can't relate to it, Can you relate to torture? Maybe a little bit, you're getting spanked or something, but it's like you're growing up, you have no reality on what this really means. So as we continue the story, the energy starts to change, just like the weather. It goes from a sunny day, and then the clouds are forming, and then the clouds are forming, and it's darker, and it gets darker, and it gets darker, and all of a sudden a storm comes up. So now you move into a phase of where everything was cool to just the opposite. Just the opposite. All the adoring crowds are gone, and the authorities have seized Jesus, and they're treating him like a common criminal with utter disrespect. Meanwhile, his men, his disciples, they're scared. I won't use the term, but you know what I'm talking. They're scared, man. They're in a room and they're going, "Oh, they grabbed the master. What's going to happen to him?" And somebody says, "Well, maybe we should go rescue him." And somebody says, "Well, they might take us. They might arrest us. No, we got to look out for ourselves." So everybody's staying in the room. So they were quarantined too. What a parallel. They're quarantined. They didn't go out, right? Maybe somebody sent somebody out for groceries, but everybody's lying low. So what happens? The absolute worst thing that can happen to someone, especially a good man, he's disrespected, he's ridiculed, and he's sentenced to the worst death that you can imagine at that time, which is crucifixion. So that's the worst, bottom of the barrel way to disrespect someone. So he goes through this time, and you guys all know the story and what takes place. So there, it's explained in 3 days. So, starts on Friday. They seize him on Thursday. Anyway, there's 3 phases of it. That's the important thing. There's 3 phases of the story. And so the middle phase is major unpleasantness, major negativity. Holy smokes, something you wouldn't want to go through in a million years, right? Something that he didn't want to go through it either. When he prayed for strength. Okay, so you have this phase of going through something that every ounce of you doesn't want to go through, and you prefer not to go through it if you can. But most of the time, it's not up to us. These big moments in our lives. I'm not talking about little stuff. I'm talking about big stuff. The big issues in our lives. We choose not to go through them, but we have to go through them. So he goes through it, and after the huge negativity erupts, right, and they finally kill him, and they stick him, put him in the tomb, and they figure, well, that's that. So then there's a lull in that phase, right? There's a lull. People go, "What's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. What's going to happen?" Nobody knows. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So when Sunday comes, well, something happened. According to the story, Jesus kicked out the stone and walked out of there and went to the disciples and says, "Hey, man, I'm rose from the dead." Pardon my summary of that. But he says, "Okay, I'm rose from the dead here. I'm back." So, and again, if you're religious, he did his thing, which you well know. From an energetic point of view, not coming from a belief. Some people believe it, some people don't. But what we can learn from this energetically is that something happened. There was a shift of energy that took place on Sunday. How do we know? Well, we know that there was a shift of consciousness that took place with the 12 disciples, because they were in a low vibration energy state of fear, worry, anxiety, stress. They had the number one fear, which is the fear of death. That's the number one fear all human beings have, fear of death. That's the big one. Fear of not surviving. That's why so many people are scared, to death, literally, from the coronavirus. It's the death. It's killing people. Well, it is. It has, but anyway, it has. So it's proved with some people. If you have a strong immune system, it looks like people surviving that. And people who are older or people who have weaker immune systems tend not to survive it. So unfortunately, nobody knows who has a strong immune system or not. That's why you have different people, some kids and you have some adults who seem to be healthy who succumb to it. But be that as it may, just to finish the story and then moving on with the class. So what we had three different phases taking place, actually 4 different phases. We had a phase where everything's normal, where we think that things are going to stay that way. And then all of a sudden the weather changes and they go from normal to threatening from threatening to bad, from bad to worse. And then they go from an extraordinary time of suffering and time of adversity and times of unpleasantness, right? And then after that takes place, it's like the darkest hour comes before the dawn. And then there's a lull there. There's a lull. And you think, whoa, what's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen. And then, like clockwork, because of the energetic cycles I've been teaching you about, it has to move back into high vibrational energy. It has to, because that's the law. It's like, the day never skips the afternoon, right? It goes from morning to evening. Never. That's the sequence that days work. And that's the sequence of energies. So when you see these things, whatever the conditions are, what the next phase is going to be. So the next phase was the resurrection and the energies of resurrection, the energies of empowerment, the energies of high vibrational energies, the energies of love, of expansion, of kindness, of caring, of giving, of sharing. And that's what the whole Easter is really about, celebrating that new energy, going from the crucifixion of the depression of Good Friday, right, from the lull of Saturday into rebirth, into the rebirth of energy. Now, that is a metaphor and a system. It's actually a diagram for how our lives work. And I don't know why, but I wondered why we had drama in our house, because I naturally thought that everybody else was like, the Cleavers on Leave It to Beaver, right? Everybody was always happy and everybody was always, positive and only good things happen to you, like that. And that certainly wasn't the way it was at our house, man. It was up and down. It was good. It was bad. It was nice. But I counted myself lucky, because in the house next door, literally the house next door that I could look over the fence, the father was an alcoholic, and the son was my age, and we were kind of pals. He was a year or two older than me, but we used to pal around and ride bikes and play ball and stuff. And but he never let me come over to his house. He said, "No, I can't." He always said, "Come on, you want to come over? You want to sleep over? Like you do when you're kids." Guy never let me over to his house. He never wanted to meet his parents. I met his mother once. She was really nice, but I always wondered, what's the deal? It felt like he was hiding something. And little did I know, what he was hiding was his father, who was a very kind of a shy guy, was the Irish, working Irishman, kind of a shy, polite, stay to himself type of guy. But man, on Wednesday nights, he'd go down to the local bar and he'd tie one on and he would come walking back. He'd kind of come straggling back. And I remember seeing him one time, I was out on my porch and I saw him kind of straggling back to the house next door. And he was home maybe 5 minutes before I heard the screams and the yells. And I look over the fence and there he is. He took his belt off and he's whipping everybody. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm 12 years old and I'm seeing this madman whip his family. what the heck? And then I understood. I mean, the guy had a brother. My friend had a brother who was in a wheelchair, a younger guy. He was whipping the guy in a wheelchair, And I went, whoa. And my parents said, you think it's rough here? How'd you like to live next door? I went, no, thanks. So point being is that we all go through this, and it was such a relief. And I hope it's a relief to you that if you've gone through suffering, if you had a wackadoodle upbringing, or parents who were addicted, or didn't get along, or you went through divorce, the pains of divorce, and you had a rough time. And I don't know anybody who didn't, even the people who kind of quote unquote lived had happy parents and had a nice child, they were tormented by somebody or something, could have been a brother or a next door neighbor, somebody, because nobody escapes it. And that's important for us to know and to be able to teach how things work. Because when you recognize how things work, you can do something about it. Now, what I want to mention to you, by the way, is this making sense to you guys? Do you see how the structures work? And this is why I'm going over the story today, because it has such a profound illustration of what it is that I teach. Okay, now the thing about it is, if you go in your own life and you look at maybe one of the biggest challenges you ever had, you look at a challenge that you had that at the time was causing you sorrow and grief. Maybe it was a breakup. That's a good one, right? You have your first love that you're in love with, and you think it's going to last forever, and you're so close, and you're so in love, and one day, for whatever reason, it's over. She leaves, or can't see anymore, or he takes off, or they cheat on you, or whatever it is. You go from immense happiness to immense sorrow, and you go through pain. I speak from experience. You used to call me the heartbreak kid, because every time I would fall in love, it would end up, to be a heartbreak. So, why? Why does that happen? Why are the greatest feelings that you can feel love, intimacy, closeness, connection, affection, all the beautiful things that you have in life? Why does that take you to the most miserable feelings that you can feel? The agony, the misery, the loss. Oh my gosh. Crucifixion, right? It's the same thing that we're talking about for the Easter story. You're in bliss. And then it turns into, the clouds are coming. They're bringing the cross up. And too many people stay at the crucifixion time. They stay in Good Friday, and they let these wounds define them. I'll never find love. I loved once and I got my heart broken. I'm never going to love again. Right. Or I tried to be a businessman and I've had all these failures. I guess I'm not meant to be a businessman. I just better get a job. Or, in other words, you let life break you. You let life break you. And life has broken all of us at one time or another. The cool thing that I realized about energy and energy awareness is that there's always a resurrection if you will recognize that it's on the way. And so when you learn energy awareness training, you're trained to know that, hey, you're going to go through cycles in life. There's going to be times when the good time, it's going to be summertime, right? It's going to be summertime. We all want summer to last forever, don't we? The endless summer. I remember there was a movie when I was a kid called The Endless Summer. Guys were surfers, and they would go all over the world wherever it was summer and surf. So they were always, it was always summertime, no matter what time of year it was. But then there's always a phase where that summer is over and there's a new phase that's kicking in, and you can see it. We just went through a major go-go economy. And I mean, it's been summertime for many years, right? Since it cleared up, it started clearing up around 2012, 2013, and from 2013 on to last year, about 6 years, maybe even 7, it was all good. It was summertime. The economy's boom, boom, boom. Everybody's making money. Everybody's happy, right? Unemployment's low. Every great time to be an entrepreneur. And then what happens? Bam! Economy stops. Could you predicted it? Could you predict at this time last year that the whole economy was going to shut down? Probably not. But I'll tell you what: if you were energetically aware, you would have known that it was coming. Why? For the simple fact is, you understand the energy cycles that are taking place. You knew at some point this has to end, and it has to move into, a Good Friday sequence, and then Holy Saturday sequence, and how long that lasts, we don't know. But you have to be prepared for it, and that's true in love, in relationships. That's true in money. That's true in health. That's true in everything that we're dealing with in this life, because everything in this life is energy, and energy has patterns. Nikola Tesla, you might have heard me say that, says if you want to understand the mysteries of life, then you'll start to look at things in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So even Tesla said, you know what, there's mysteries in life. There's things we can't figure out. There's things we wonder why. Why do we have to go through this? And he's saying, if you want the clues, if you want the secrets, then start looking at it in terms of energy, in terms of frequency, in terms of vibration. Well, that was a new one at the time. Energy, frequency. How is me going through a divorce? What does that have to do with energy, frequency, and vibration? Or what does the stock market plummeting have to do with energy, frequency, and vibration? Right? Or why is this health thing I got, have a clear blue sky? What does that have to do with energy, frequency, and vibration? Well, they didn't know then, but I think you know now. It has everything to do with it. It's the cause. It's the cause of why these things happen. And if you know the structure of how energy works, and you know how to change energy, you know how to nullify it. First of all, you know how to identify it, and you know how to dissolve it, how to disconnect it, a low frequency energy, and move it into a high frequency energy. Then you'll be able to do something about it. I repeat, you'll be able to do something about the calamities that hit you. So, what do you do about that? How if you're going through Good Friday, how are you going to get through that? Well, let me ask you a question. If you were dirt poor and you didn't have anything, God forbid, you're just like, no money, you got no money, would you be able to deal with that easier if you knew a week from now there's going to be a check for $1,200 made out to you? So in a week from now, you're going to have $1,000. You got nothing now, but in a week or a couple of days, there's a check coming to you for $1,200. Do you think you'd be able to deal with that a lot easier than you would have if you hadn't known? What do you think? Give me some feedback here, guys. Would you be able to deal with that a lot easier if you knew? I mean, would you be able to get through that week knowing, hey, Monday you're still dirt poor, Tuesday you're still dirt poor, Wednesday, Thursday, but next Monday morning in the mail from the government, there's a check. Would you be able to get through it easier? You better believe it. You better believe, because you know there's an end to this. You know there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's when people don't think that there's any light at the end of the tunnel, that's when they suffer. That's when they give up. And that's what the low vibration energies want you to do. They want you to give up. They want you to go, isn't this terrible? Isn't this rotten? You shouldn't be living this way. This shouldn't have happened to you. It's totally unfair. Why don't you let's just let's get out of here. Let's check out of life. Let's just jump off the bridge, or, have a necktie party, or, swallow 100 pills. Let's get out of here. That's what those forces want you to do. They want you to think that Good Friday is always going to be the way it's going to be. And if you're energetically aware, no, it sucks right now. I got it. It sucks. But it's going to change. And when it changes, it's going to, the sun's going to come back out. I'm going to be feeling good again. And I'm going to be better off that this happened to me. It's not something that you endure. It's something that you'll be better off. You'll be more evolved. You'll be more educated. You'll be more wise that you went through this thing if you're energetically aware. And that's the difference between people who are awakened and energetically aware and people who aren't. The people who aren't, when they suffer, they're miserable because they think it's going to last forever. And they're just so down. Oh, this is terrible. Like that. I feel sorry for them. I was one of those. Instead of knowing this is going to pass, and this is a test. This is a test for you to recognize that you're not a physical being, that you're an energetic being, that there's another reality to this. And this is the time when you're going through that suffering to recognize that there's a higher reality that will guide you safely over this tough time. Now, you can call it whatever you want to, the universe, you can call it God, you can call it divine providence, you can call it Jesus, you can call it, whatever your word for it. But there's a higher level of energy that if you connect to it, it will guide you through the turmoils, because it will take you to a higher dimension of consciousness. And that's what energy awareness training teaches you, how to go to a higher awareness of consciousness. So when things happen, you can separate yourself from suffering, and you can know that you're not just your body, that in your physical body, in your finite physical body, is an infinite, unlimited, all potential energy. And unlike your body, which has a birthday, has a middle day, and has a day when you leave it, that energy is eternal. That energy is no beginning and has no end. And when you connect to that part of yourself, you free yourself from the suffering of this world. You free yourself from it. That doesn't mean that you don't go through it. It means that the suffering doesn't own you. I had an example of myself a couple of weeks ago. I'm walking around and staying in high vibration energy and teaching and learning stuff. And one day, my shoulder starts to hurt. I'm like, yeah, this one right here. I'm like, man, what's going on in there? Do I have a cramp in there, or I don't know what it is? And the next day, I woke up the next day, and wow, it really hurt. In fact, it woke me up in the middle of the night, going, wow, my shoulder. And then the next day, I couldn't lift my arm up. I couldn't lift I could bend my elbow, but I couldn't do this. Couldn't lift this up. It hurt like a son of a gun. And I'm like, whoa, I can't lift my arm up. I'm a one-armed man right now. So I go, this is very interesting. Now, I'm the energy guy, right? So I did some energy healing treatments on myself, and it made it feel better, but it was still painful. And I still had to deal with it. And I recognized, okay, this has come to me, and it's a gift. I'm not going to look at it as the excruciating pain that it is, because if I do that, I'll be stuck in Good Friday. So what I want to do is I want to elevate my consciousness to go, okay, remember, you're not your body. Now, that's easier said than done. It takes some consciousness and training to be able to be at that point. But conscious and been trained to be able to do that. So I went along, did my thing. I couldn't play the piano and I couldn't cook breakfast, but everything else, anything you can do with one arm, I did it. And I hung with it and I said, you know what? It doesn't define me. And I'm grateful that I have an arm that works. That's where I went with it. So even though it was happening in my body, my consciousness was separated from it. So I was able to observe it and go, that's weird about your shoulder. I was able to observe it from another place, from another sense of consciousness. And in 3 days, count them, 3 days, it went away. And now I can lift my arm up again. Go figure, right? Those are 3 days of suffering, of pain. And yet, where did it take me? Did it take me? And that's the question and the direction that the energies have for you. Whatever happens to you, are you going to have that take you to a dark place, to a place of suffering, to a Good Friday, woe is me, this sucks, I'm miserable? Or are you going to transcend it and welcome it and say, okay, this is the way it is right now. And even though I'm dealing with X, can I still choose to stay in a high vibration, loving place of gratitude and service? Anyway, that's the test on all this stuff. Now, our natural state is to go immediately into suffering. Oh, my arm hurts. Why does it hurt? I don't know why it hurts. It shouldn't hurt. Well, I didn't do anything. Why should it hurt? I don't know. Oh, what's that? What kind of energy is that, gang? Low vibrational energy. What direction is that going to bring me more of? Low vibration energy. So what I did was I shifted into high vibrational energy. And I went, yeah, okay. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, I can't lift my arm. Yeah, I don't know why this happened. But even though, can I shift my consciousness to high vibration energy and let it be? Just like Lennon and McCartney said, can I just let it be? Let it be. And let it do its thing and know that I'm not defined whether I can lift this arm up or not. And I'll tell you what, and that's what I did. I'll tell you what, I never really recognized that it's a miracle that you can lift your arm up. It's a miracle. Do you know how many muscles are involved in joints and ligaments just to lift your arm up? I never thought about it once in my whole life that it's a miracle that you can lift your arm up. But you know what? When 3 days I couldn't use my arm and it hurt like a son of a gun, I recognized, the ability to lift your arm up is a miracle. And now I can lift it up. I know what it feels like not to lift it up. Now, that might seem something so trivial to you. But when people get depressed and people think, I've got nothing to live for, when people become suicidal because they're focusing on what's not working. And that's how you become depressed, by the way. You focus on what's not working. You put your total attention on low vibration energy, on your worry, stressed out, and you complain a lot. And you totally isolate yourself from high vibrational energy. Right down you'll go. And you think, what's worth living? My favorite rock singer, guy's name was Brad Delp. He was the lead singer for Boston. You guys remember Boston? More than a feeling when I hear that old song, babe. Big hit. This guy had a voice. It was a 1 in a million voice. It was just, man, he could do it all. One of my favorite rock singers of all time. The guy offs himself. He, in 2015, was 55. He says, I can't take it anymore. I'm out of here. And I'm reading about him and I'm thinking, guy is 100% healthy. Guy has children. He has a fiance. He's in a world-class band. His favorite thing to do is sing Beatles songs, which he does all the time. What is it that he couldn't take? What is it that he couldn't take? What was it what was so bad about this guy's life that he had to off himself? It was the low vibration energies. It was the energy frequency that he was in, because that's what it does. If it can get you feeling bad about anything, it can make you feel worse. And if it can make you feel worse, it'll compound it. And then it'll just, and if you allow yourself to go down that rat hole of despair, anxiety, worry, doubt, fear, that's the ultimate end game. You want to know the ultimate end game? For low vibration energy is take yourself out. The ultimate end game for high vibration energy is complete and total happiness, no matter what's going on, and liberation from the third dimensional world into unlimited dimensions. So one of them, you get the prize, and the other one, you get the shaft. So this is what I'm talking about when we're talking about energy, and it starts with a thought. That's why in this training, I teach you the most important skill you can develop is the ability to read energy. That's the most important skill, because energy affects everything that you do. It's in every decision that you make. It's in every direction that you want to go, good, bad, or ugly. So if you can't read, think about that. If you can't read energies, then you're depending upon your five senses and your logic, which will come through for you 50% of the time. Anything that's a logical problem, you can figure out, right? Anything that makes sense, you can figure it out. But that's not the stuff that trips us up. The stuff that trips us up are the things that we can't figure out, the things that make no sense, the things that are illogical, the things that look one way logically or linearly, and that you figure out using your five senses, and they defy it. It goes the other way. You've had that experience. You've made decisions where it looked good, it sounded good, I thought they could be trusted, I thought they loved me, I thought they were a good investor, and boom. So point is, if you're energetically aware, that won't happen to you, because energy always leaves clues. Okay? All right, I think I've covered enough of that. I want to go into the last phase of the class. You guys getting this? Hey, Barbara is here. Glad you guys are here. Thanks. Yeah, it's so funny. I had that little tickle coming on. I'm good now. Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that. Okay. Dave receives high vibration energy from a cushion in my checking. Cushion in my checking. Your checking account? Is that what that means, Dave? All right. So let's talk about this diagram, the structure of Easter, and let it be illustrated with a couple of stories from famous people. So you can see how this works. We're all living the Easter story. The Easter story is life. You know, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist, a Hindu, an atheist, doesn't matter what, that's the blueprint structure for how these things work. So let's go over a couple of examples, shall we, on this. How about Nelson Mandela? Nelson Mandela was a revolutionary. He was anti-apartheid in South Africa, and he worked very hard to try to overthrow the government. You know, and if you ever try to overthrow any existing government, you're playing with fire. So what happened to Mandela? You know, they caught him, you know, in one of the activities that he was doing, the demonstrations or shootings. I think there was some violence connected with that. And they catch him and they put him in prison. They put him in prison for almost 30 years. Okay. Now, he had a nice life beforehand, as nice a life as you can have if you're black in South Africa in the 50s. He was married and he had kids and he had a good livelihood. But there was something in him that says, you know what? I'm not going to tolerate injustice. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to speak out, even though it could cost me my freedom. I'm going to say something. So that's what he did. And as a result of doing that, they got caught. They put him in prison for 30 years, not 10, not 30 years. The guy's in jail. Holy smokes. And then, I think he's about to turn 70 or close to it, 65, 70, and then they let him out. And you think, what's he going to do? I mean, the guy's been in prison 30 years. He's finished. He's been made an example of. Times have changed. They've passed them by. But Mandela was such a great guy, and he was such a high vibratory character that when he got back, instead of trying to get revenge on the people who had hurt him, who had imprisoned him, who had embarrassed him, who had taken all the stuff away from him, he forgave them. And he recognized that if he was going to go in the low vibration energy with them, it was just going to bring more low vibration energy. So because he was a vehicle and a beacon for high vibrational energy, he became the prime minister of the whole country. Can you imagine? A guy's in jail for 30 years and he gets out, and in less than 6-7 years, he's the prime minister of the country. And he won the Nobel Prize for one of the architects of ending apartheid. So he had his good times, and then he had his Good Friday. His Good Friday lasted 30 years of oppression. And then he had his Holy Saturday where he's gotten out, where people didn't know what's going to happen with Mandela. I don't know. Is he going to lead a revolution? He's going to try to overthrow the government. And then it went into Easter Sunday, resurrection, new energy, awakening, love, peace, kindness, sharing, unity. That's what he brought. So he's a great example of the Easter story. Okay. I got a couple more. You guys want to hear some more? Let me know on the chat here if you want to hear the celebrities' way of doing this. I got a good one. So Mandela represented the political structure of someone who got through the Easter sequence from a political. How about from the sports world? How about our old friend Tiger Woods? Tiger Woods, bred to be a champion since he was 2 years old. He was playing golf. There's a clip on the Tonight Show of Tiger Woods hitting golf. Okay, Terrence wants to see it. All right, good for you. Well, I'm going to give it to you, Terrence. So the guy's been playing golf since he was 2 years old, right? And he's a protege. And you remember in his heyday, he starts winning. He's a winner. Tiger Woods is synonymous with golf. He's the Tiger Woods of this. He's the Tiger Woods of that. Everybody loves Tiger Woods, right? Tiger Woods, right? Winning. And then what happens? So he has his good times, and then he hits Holy Thursday, which is there's a shift in the energy. All of a sudden, he's not winning anymore, right? All of a sudden, something's happening, and it's not what he wants. He has to. He doesn't know what's happening to him, but he knows he's not winning, and he's not where he was before. And then comes Good Friday. Good Friday, when it's recognized that not only is he in a golf slump, but he's a serial cheater on his wife. He's having affairs with 20 different women, while he's married to his wife and his kids. It becomes a big scandal, and he gets arrested, and suffering, man. Good Friday, crucifixion, went through it. Embarrassed, shame. She divorced him. I think he gave her like $100 million. Even though he's a rich guy, giving away $100 million isn't chump change. The guy suffered more than you can imagine. Some could say maybe he deserved it, maybe he didn't. I don't know. But he went through the Good Friday, right? And here he is, starting from scratch, going through the humiliation of trying to qualify for golf tournaments. I mean, in the old days, he was automatically included. But now he has to qualify. And to his embarrassment, there were some some golf tournaments that he didn't score high enough to qualify for. I'm sorry, Mr. Woods, you don't qualify. You didn't make the cut with the other amateurs or the other, people starting out. Embarrassment, loss, in every way possible. He had to have back surgery. So he was crucified health-wise, money-wise, reputation-wise, performance-wise. Guy's about as down as you can get. Went through that period, kept at it. Holy Saturday, right? Kept at it. Didn't know what was going to happen to him. Poor Tiger Woods. Is he ever going to come back? Probably not. Poor guy. This guy's a has-been. Kept going. Last year, he wins the Masters. He gets the green jacket. I think it was 10 or 12 years. He went through his Good Friday. Boom. Back on top. Now, did he suffer? You better believe he did. Is he wiser because of it? You better believe he is. Do relationships mean more to him that he lost a woman? He had tried to get that girl to marry him for over 5 years. He was working on her. 5 years he was working on her. And you know what she said to him? She said, I don't want to marry golfers. I don't trust golfers. They're cheaters and they're low characters. That's what she said to him. And he went, I'm different. No, baby, I'm different. I'm different. Marry me. Well, she was right. But be that as it may, he's another example of the whole Christmas diagram. You guys want another one? Got a good one for you. If you want another one, let me know on the chat. Well, I have a swig of water. Sorry about that tickle in my throat. I hadn't planned on talking about Kobe, but he certainly went through it, at least professionally, right? Here he had all those championships, and then they did a series with Boston, and Boston, he humiliated him. I mean, the Celtics were his arch enemy. Talk about embarrassment. That guy was as low as he could get when the Celtics beat them. I remember that. Yeah, Terrence, that's a good analogy. And then what happened? He was so spurred on. He was so motivated that he went in and, man, he won that next NBA championship with, I forget, was it the Celtics? Was it a Celtics rematch or was it with the Pistons? You'll have to educate me on that. Okay, but the one that I wanted to teach you about was Tina Turner. She's another example of the Easter sequence. She had become a fairly well-known singer with her husband, Ike Turner. And she grew up relatively poor and was a touring act. Everybody knew Ike and Tina Turner in the 60s. She had hits. And she got out of one bad situation, and had a good deal going with Ike for a while. Touring and money and fame and success and stuff. And then he starts beating her and he starts taking her for granted and he starts going out with other women and, all that, the whole story is in the Tina Turner story in that movie. And she goes from everything going great to her Good Friday. She's getting beaten. She's getting tortured by this guy physically, emotionally, mentally. She's got, by this time she's got 2 or 3 kids with the guy, and she's absolutely miserable. She's got black eyes everywhere and stuff. Now she's going through her Good Friday. And what does she know? She knows that this situation is intolerable. I can't take it. I'm willing to walk away from everything. Just give me my kids and I'm out of here. You can have all the money. You can have all the contracts. You can have all that stuff. I'm out of here. Just give me my kids and I'm out. And that's what happened. She walked with nothing. She left Ike with nothing. And he was such a vindictive SOB that he made sure that she got nothing because he figured if he squeezed her, she would come back to him crawling and begging. Well, she didn't do that. So she went from her Good Friday into what? Into Holy Saturday. She didn't know what was going to happen to her. She even mentioned, she lived here in Southern California, lived in Santa Monica. She says she remembers going to get unemployment and welfare. Did you know Tina Turner was on welfare? She was getting food stamps. She was so poor. That's the Holy Saturday. I don't know what's going to happen. Could go either way. I don't know what's up. And then what happened? This turned into that. This person called her, who introduced her to this person, who made this thing happen, who liked what she did with this, who offered her an opportunity with this guy, who introduced her to a producer. And they made a record. And that was the record that What's Love Got to Do with It was on. And she went from food stamps and welfare to one of the most successful rock singers of all time. Also one of the richest. I think she retired with over $100 million in her account. Easter Sunday, resurrection. Now, do you see the process that takes place? And that's the process that takes place for us all. But what if she said when she had left Ike, oh, there's no use. I've lost everything. Nobody, I'm on welfare. I'm on food stamps. Are you kidding me? Life's never going to get better. This sucks. I'm going to check out. You would think, why would you do that? Don't you know that you're only a week away or a month away or a year away from Easter Sunday? Hold on. That's the sequence. And yet so many people they make permanent decisions from temporary circumstances. I'm going to repeat that. They make permanent decisions from temporary circumstances. And why? Because that low vibration energy wants them to. Its job, that low vibration energy wants to take you out. That's why it's always trying to pull you. The anxiety, worry, stress, fear, doubt, always trying to pull you there. Because if it can insert a low vibration energy thought, then maybe that thought can become a low vibration energy feeling. Then maybe that feeling can become a low vibration energy emotion. Then maybe it can become a low vibration energy behavior, and then start a whole new sequence happening. See how insidious that is? Whereas the high vibration energies says it's all good. You heard that? That's a phrase we've heard. Hey man, it's all good. It's all good. Well, you know what? When you're connected to the high vibration energy, it is all good. It is all good. No matter what you're going through, it's all good. You're just seeing one segment of the process, right? So you never question life when things are going your way. It's when they're not going your way, when you're down, when you're depressed, when you're oppressed. That's when you go, why is this happening to me? I don't like this. And it's even good there. So, if you ask Tina Turner, hey, Tina, you know how you suffered when you left Ike? Those years, I think she went through about 3 or 4 years of the Holy Saturday, nothing happening, doesn't know what's going to happen. If you had only known what was up ahead, would you have been a lot better? Would you have been able to come with it a lot better? Would you have not been as depressed? Would you have been kind of open? She said, if I had known what was up ahead of me, I would have danced every day. I wouldn't have been down 1 second. I wouldn't have let any kind of negativity, anxious, depression, worry. I wouldn't have let anything of that because I knew it was all good. It's a matter of time before I reach my happy ever after. And that's the way it is for us all. It's not just for her. It's just not for them. It's the sequence for us all. And that's what you learn in energy awareness training. Because it's only if you understand energy awareness training that you're going to get it. If somebody's down and depressed, if I go to somebody and say, hey, man, if somebody's got the virus and they're sitting there and they're in absolute misery, and I say, hey, man, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's going to work out. The guy's going to lift his hand up and give me the finger, right? Because that's not his reality. And that's typically not our reality when we're going through crucifixion or adversity or bad times, because all we can see is what's here through using our five senses and logic. And the logic goes, well, I don't see anything changing, and it looks bad and it sounds bad, so it must be bad. It's just the opposite. You have to train yourself to understand that your five senses and your logic only work for stuff that's sensical and logical. The stuff that's not sensical, the stuff that's in the energetic worlds, you got to use new tools. You got to use new gear. You got to shift gears and use new perspectives. And is this making sense to you guys? Let me get some feedback on here. I got one more story to give you, and then we're going to wrap it up. Let me just get some feedback here and see if this is ringing the bell on this Easter Sunday. If you guys understand what the significance of Holy Thursday versus Good Friday versus Holy Saturday versus Easter. 4 different phases. They're the 4 phases of what we deal with in life. You better know those 4 phases, guys. And if you got kids, you better teach them the 4 phases so they can avoid staying in Good Friday, as so many people do. Looking for feedback? Anybody else here? I'm only seeing is Terrence. I don't know if I can see any more going on here. Okay, lost the Celtics, beat Magic, okay. Terrence knows his Lakers history. All right. I'd like to hear from a few more of you guys. Are you getting it? Do you understand this? The sequence? The days represent energies. The days represent, it's just not Holy Thursday. Oh, that's the day that he washed the poor people's feet. Oh, Friday. Oh, that's the day of the crucifixion. Holy Saturday. Oh, that's the day that nothing happened. Easter Sunday. Oh, that's the day, he rose from the dead. Okay. Those are just the headlines, man. Okay. I'm giving them to you right now. That's the religious connotation. The 4 phases are Holy Thursday. The energies are starting to change. So before Holy Thursday, you had status quo. Everything's fine. Everything's going great. Health-wise, money-wise, everything's fine. It's like our economy, these last few years. Everything's fine. What's to complain about? Employment at an all-time low. It's all good, right? That's the way it was. And then Holy Thursday shows up, and then wait a minute. There's a shift. There's something taking place. There's a warning. There's clouds on the horizon. That's the first sign of the shift from the status quo. Okay. Then from the warning signs coming in from the clouds, when Good Friday comes, I don't know why they call it good, but should call it Bad Friday if anything else. But when Good Friday comes, then the disaster hits. Then the stuff you don't want comes down in spades. Everything you don't want. Adversity, suffering, pain, anguish, God forbid, on all that stuff. Like the coronavirus. We got the warning. We got the warning. There was stuff coming up back in February, late February. The warnings were coming. All of a sudden, it wasn't life as normal. There was a cloud on the horizon, right? The cloud. So that was the Holy Thursday energy. Then it morphed into Good Friday, which we're at right now. Economy shut down, jobs shut down. People worry about their health. People in fear. People in quarantine. Boom. That's, everything that you don't want to have happen. That's the Good Friday. That's the adversity. That's the sorrow. That's the suffering. That's the pain. People are going, how am I going to make money? How am I going to get through this? Am I going to have a job? Am I going to be safe from the virus? Am I going to, it's under attack. For Good Friday, you're under attack. What was Jesus on Good Friday, man? He was under attack. Big time. What is attack? Something threatening you. Something threatening you that wants to hurt you. Something that could threaten your safety in any way possible. And then it's like a rainstorm, like a hurricane. Oh man, just banging you on Friday energy. Then what happens? There's a lull. Okay, it stops raining. Okay, there's gonna be a lull in the viruses. It's already started now, but in New York, the amount of hospitalizations now for the first time are going down. Okay, still warnings up, but there's a shift taking place. Okay, then what eventually is going to happen? Then Easter Sunday is going to happen. So eventually, what's going to happen is that we're going to be able to. This virus is going to be gone. The threat's going to be gone. We're going to be able to come out of our houses. We're going to be able to go back to work. We're going to be able to see our friends. We might not stand so close to them as we did before, but we're going to be able to see them, right? And if you're energetically aware, this time will have been a blessing for you because you will have learned something, you will have evolved, you will be wiser, and in every way possible, if you're connected to the high vibrational energy. If not, if you're just resisting this thing and suffering every day, then you'll be the same when this thing's over. I hope not. I hope there'll be a shift in you. And that's what being energetically aware. Cool. All right. Last story. Last guy I want to mention is Robert Downey Jr. I want to mention Robert Downey Jr. You guys, you know him? He's what? You would think I know. What does he play? Not Aquaman. He's what kind of man is he? What kind of superhero, you guys, is Robert Downey Jr.? Write it on the chat. Anyway, interesting. The guy starts off, he's a child prodigy actor. When he started, man, he set the acting world on fire as a young man. And he got accolades. I think he even won an Oscar. Iron Man, thanks. I think he even won an Oscar for Charlie Chaplin. I think playing Charlie Chaplin, he was up for that. An amazing career for such a young man. Accolades, acknowledgement, recognition, everything you could want in his career. Okay? Things going along, good. Things going along, good. Then he starts getting into drugs. And everybody's doing drugs in Hollywood. I think his heyday was the 80s. You know, they're all doing drugs in the 80s. So it wasn't a big deal. But he started doing more and more and more. And then he'd get arrested here. And then he'd get arrested there. And then he'd have some incident would blow up. And this thing happened. And that thing happened. And it was pretty soon, nobody would hire him in Hollywood. He was the quintessential drug addict. And the last straw came when he was so high, he was going back to his house, and he was so high he couldn't remember which one was his house. So he walks in this house thinking that it's his, and he crashes on the couch and he's asleep. And the people who own the house going, whoa, somebody's in our house sleeping. They call the cops. The cops arrest him. He goes to jail. I mean, he is down as low as you can be. So that he went from Holy Thursday to the warnings to Good Friday. Over. Guy's over. Nobody wants to touch this guy with a 10-foot pole. He's a drug addict. He's screwed up, been arrested so many times. It's over for him. Goodbye, later. And then for the 10th time, he decides to go through rehab. Been through rehab 9 times, didn't take. Decides to go through one more time. And by some miracle, and with a lot of help, including the help of Mel Gibson, who's another story I'll go through some other class, he becomes sober. And he starts at the beginning. And he starts taking these little bit parts. I mean, this guy was a huge movie star, and now he's starting at the beginning. He has to humble himself. He doesn't get star treatment. You know, he gets treated like everybody else. Good humility experience for him, and starts working his way and staying steady and consistent. Now he's connected to high vibrational energy. Now it's all about wanting the road of freedom, the road of kindness, of love, of discipline, of keeping your word, of showing up strong, boom, 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 all the way up there. And his career starts progressing. And then over the years, you know, it didn't happen overnight, but I think within a 10-year span of time, he gets offered, I think the numbers were $30 to $40 million or more, plus profits off of Iron Man. I think I read one report where his share, was over $50 million, and now he's an A-list star. Easter Sunday for Robert Downey Jr. So I hope I've illustrated for you in today's class the power of the Easter story and the segments of what it represents to humanity. Again, religious, not religious, believe it, don't believe it, doesn't matter. That's not the point in this class. The point is to recognize the energetic structures of what took place over Easter on Good Friday, or from Holy Thursday, 4 segments: Holy Thursday, Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and then Easter Sunday. And those are the 4 sequences that we all go through. And if you're taught on how to go through them, when you're going through them, you won't suffer. It's going to be painful and unpleasant, but you won't suffer because you'll know there's an end game. You'll know that there's a light in the tunnel. And that's the way it is with this life, you guys. If you become energetically aware, and some of you are doing so, you won't let these dark, chaotic energies try to mess you. That's what's happening right now with the virus. These energies are trying to convince you and trying to keep you down and trying to keep you worried. They're trying to pull you into this, oh my gosh, the world's coming to an end, and fear. And it's got good reason to. It's got a lot of ammo to make its point. It's not making it up. There's good reason to be alarmed, but it's not enough to keep you out of high vibration energy. So trade in the worry, trade in the anxiety. Go, okay, from a high vibration energy point of view. By the way, I didn't show you my flowers today. I have to show you my beautiful ones that I got at the farmer's market. Look at those purple ones. Oh man, aren't they beautiful? They smell great too. Why do I have them? Because it's high vibrational energy. Love being around that energy. So in the high vibrational energy, we recognize there are threats all around us. There are threats outside. There are threats inside. When you learn to read the energies, identify them, and neutralize the low vibration energies externally and internally, just like you're doing with the virus, you're wearing gloves, right? You're wearing masks. You're staying 6 feet away. Well, that's the way you're dealing with that external virus. How about the internal viruses inside you? How about the internal viruses in your thinking or in your behavior or in your feelings? You got to protect yourself against those things too. And that's what we do. So That's it for class here. Let me check if there's any questions that we have here before I sign off and wish you guys a wonderful Easter. Dave Z, I love it. Okay, what you got, Dave? Beautiful flowers, thank you. Zoom Seder with your entire family, beautiful. You had a good Seder with your family? Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, Dave, I saw that there was a police officer shot, killed a renter who was in the wrong apartment. Actually, I think it was the officer walked into an apartment and shot the guy who owned the apartment. She was in the wrong apartment. Yeah, I remember that. Remember that story? And she got bounced off the floor. She thought it was her apartment. Moral to the story is make sure you're in the right apartment. Sherlock Holmes, yeah, he was great in that one too. Iron Man, great. Looking for any last minute questions you guys got on anything you want to mention about the energies or the 4 phases of Easter? Not seeing any. So if you do write them down, go ahead and write them, and I'll get back to you within 24 hours. I go through all the questions here after the broadcast and answer them. So with that, I'm going to bid you a happy Easter, and I will be back teaching this week. Not sure exactly the days when I'm going to go through that. Did everybody, just want a reminder, I put my level 1 class up. I taught it for 12 days. Many of you were on that class, and not everybody was on every one of them, but there's gold in those classes, and they're still up on Facebook. They're going to be up for another week. I extended it a week for you guys to enjoy those classes. They're on my Facebook page, Glenn Ackerman, and they're scattered throughout my different posts, but they're all on there. So I urge you, take advantage of those classes while they're still free, because it goes back up to $7.95, when I pull them out. Okay, so take advantage of those while you can. It's my gift to you during these troubled times. Remember, it's in giving that we receive. So my whole emphasis is about whatever we can share with people, whatever good that we can do, whether it's a kind word, a phone call, a flower, let's do it, because we may not have this opportunity again. Yeah, Terrence, yes, I will be taking down those classes. I'm leaving them up for the next week. So please take a look at them and enjoy them. They're there for you guys to learn and become energetically aware. Okay, you guys, that's it for me. I hope you guys have a wonderful Easter. Remember the 4 phases, and remember, nothing changes until energy moves. So let's go move some high vibrational energy today and do some good for some people. All right. Love and blessings to you all. Bye for now.